the Hong Kong Transport Department announced that it had issued 7 pilot licenses covering 63 autonomous vehicles. Now, Baidu holds 3 of these licenses, accounting for 50 of the authorized vehicles that are allowed on the streets of Hong Kong. In the news release, the Hong Kong Transport Department also said that Baidu had been authorized to conduct cross-district driverless trials connecting Airport Island, Sunny Bay, and Tung Chung, which are very important districts on this very small, very dense island. And the government has increased the vehicle limit for Baidu up until 50, and then raised its speed limits to 50 kilometers per hour, which is roughly, if my math is correct, about 30 US miles per hour. And so now testing for Baidu on the island is encompassing complex urban environments, and they're using Baidu's 6th generation RT6 Robotaxis. The next step in this evolution, as announced in the press release, was that Hong Kong regulators are actively transitioning toward driverless operations under a dedicated code of practice. So they're developing an AV framework. Now, in that framework, for those who are going to follow closely, and I know there are some that really do, driverless operations are called fully remote controlled in the Hong Kong regs. So while we are not necessarily getting to a global taxonomy, we are seeing global expansion. And I think this is a really big signal for Baidu, as we'll talk about in a minute, for what it portends not only in Hong Kong, but for other markets in the region that are similarly situated to Hong Kong and that perhaps offer real chance for international expansion ahead of Waymo.
Now, because you and I are sticklers for fine print and doing all this stuff, and we've got the wonderful Omega algorithm that boy, she does a lot of work for us. When I hear this, and we haven't asked Omega this yet, when I hear fully remote controlled, am I to assume that this is a 1-to-1, 1-to-2 remote operator? How should we think about that? And do you think that we will get clarity in the regs over time?
I think we will get clarity, but for now, the way to read that is that it is relinquishing the driver tasks to the vehicle itself. And that's what they mean by fully remote controlled. The vehicle is being controlled by the driverless system. And so that's what they mean by remote controlled. It's not direct control by the human operator. It's remote controlled by the compute stack. And fully meaning that you don't have some kind of level 3 fallback system, right? That it is a true level 4 driverless operation. So it is a bit of a unique construction of the term. And to be fair, right, Hong Kong is a unique place to begin with, so I'm not surprised. But it is, I think, a signal that Hong Kong is transitioning from these small supervised pilots that existed to a more structured cross-district commercial readiness form of testing. And there is no doubt that Baidu is the primary beneficiary of this regulatory evolution. And so I think this really helps Baidu because it gets to utilize the city's very complex, very dense, right-hand drive urban environment as a strategic proving ground. And to me, it is that right-hand drive urban environment that is the key learnings that Baidu is going to get. It also has, to be fair, this has benefits to Hong Kong itself, right? They are looking to gain credibility as a credentialing hub in terms of providing a validated pathway for L4 technology to come to the island, but then also as a way for it to signal that if you can pass our validated testing and deployment framework, you should be able to gain credibility in other global markets.
To me, And I'm going to put on the wonky geopolitical hat that we've discussed quite a bit here, and we've written about it. At some point, we'll probably release a paper on it. It just emphasizes China's autonomous Belt and Road Initiative, where now you're doing right-hand drive on the left-hand side of the road. That opens up more of a global market where it becomes another, if you want to call it, incubation hub, testing hub to export Chinese autonomy to the world. To me, it is more of a strategic initiative than anything. Yes, is it good for the city-state of Hong Kong? Yes, autonomy is great for the city-state of Hong Kong. But to me, it's more of a geopolitical positioning to further ramp up the exporting of this technology. And then that gets very, very interesting because that opens up the Japanese market potentially. That potentially opens up the UK market, because if you look at that, and we've seen all the exports of the vehicles go to those markets, it opens up a lot of new potential markets and is a testing facility very practically close to home.
The autonomy economy is real. Commercial robo-taxi operations, humanless freight runs, AV infrastructure investment measured in billions. The question is no longer whether autonomous mobility scales. It's who advises the companies building it. KPMG works across the full autonomy ecosystem: operators, OEMs, suppliers, insurers, and investors. At the moment it matters most. When the road ahead is uncertain, we've already been there. KPMG, accelerating what's next in mobility.